Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 4. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Hard to believe, but after this week, we will be a quarter of the way through the semester. I always just feel like spring semester moves so much more quickly than fall. I don't know what it is, but at any rate, I hope that you have had a good start. Let's take a look at this week. So again, we're in that unit 1, where we're doing that kind of not the big heavy lifting, right? We're doing the squat and the press, and we're doing small concrete skills in tight short pieces of writing. Because again, I don't necessarily want you writing some long piece and working on all of these new skills, because something in that gets compromised, right? And so again, practicing skills with shorter pieces of writing. This week wraps up your last draft for the unit. And what you're going to be writing on this week is the LMC Foundation Scholarship Responses. There are 2 questions for the scholarship response, and you have to write on both of them. It has a shorter word count than the PIQs did. And the one thing I will say about the scholarship, well, a couple of things I want to say about the scholarship responses. The first is that up to this point, you have drafted the Common App and you've drafted your 4 PIQs. And all of those questions, they're different, but they're similar, right? They're basically asking you to kind of unpack certain aspects of yourself, your thoughts, your ideas, your hopes, your goals, your dreams, and to kind of explain who you are to these admission committees, right? So you've done that 5 times up to this week. The Scholarship Foundation, those questions are iterations of the same thing that you've written already. So before you jump into the writing, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the scholarship questions that you're being asked, and I want you to think about where you can beg and borrow from what you've already written. You can't necessarily copy and paste it entirely just because of the word count. Your audience is different this time. But I want you to kind of think about, okay, what could I use, right, that I have written? How could I revise it now with this rhetorical situation? This rhetorical situation is a little bit different. The other 2, you're trying to basically kind of sell yourself as a good applicant for the college, right? In this case, who's your audience? What's the audience of a scholarship application? Well, it's another committee, but this time your purpose is to try to earn a scholarship. And that might mean that your content is a little bit different. It might mean that your exigence is a little bit different, right? And so you want to kind of be thinking about how that little rhetorical situation shift is going to impact your writing. But I would encourage you to try and use something that you have written already if you think it applies. It's not plagiarizing yourself. It's more of kind of using your resources wisely, right? How can you use your resources in this week's draft? The other thing I want to really encourage you to do, absolutely encourage you to do, is I want you to consider applying to this scholarship. It is still open. It's still available. It closes on February 23rd. You'll see in the information on the scholarship page, the requirements for the scholarship. The one thing I love about the scholarship, well, a couple things actually, is that it's available to students who are graduating. It's like if you got your AA, you graduating, great, you can apply. Are you transferring? That is, you didn't get your AA, but you got all of your units, you're transferring, great, you can apply. Let's say, oh, you're not sure you're ready to go, you don't have the units, you're in process, great, you can apply. Let's say you're in a certificate program and you're not necessarily looking for an AA, you're working in the trades, great, you can apply. This foundation scholarship is available to any student at LMC, right? Transferring, continuing, whatever. The other thing I love about the scholarship is that it's a one-stop shop. That means you fill out one application and it automatically will apply within the foundation program to all of the scholarships that you're eligible for with your one application. I think that's amazing. and there's no reason why you shouldn't apply. And you're going to be doing the draft for the class, right? And that's the whole idea, right? This is a real world thing. The one thing I will say is that if you are planning on applying, you do have to have 2 LMC references. So with that said, I'm happy to be a reference for you if you are interested. If you are, you need to email me and I will get some information out to you. But the scholarship closes on the 23rd. So if you are legitimately thinking about applying, and you should, there's no reason why you shouldn't, then reach out to people who you think could vouch for you, could write a quick recommendation. Again, I've given you all the information that you need for that in the scholarship pages for this week in the module. Okay. All right, so that's the draft that you're working on this week. The rhetorical strategy that we're working on is inductive and deductive reasoning. And I think that this is really kind of critical to think about, because the rhetorical situation helps you think about the writing in a very general sense, and kind of who you're writing for and who you want to be as the writer, and the motivation behind writing. But when it comes to reasoning and you're thinking about inductive or deductive reasoning, the idea there is not the rhetorical situation, but it's like, okay, given the rhetorical situation, given that I'm writing to this audience, how then do I want to set up my writing? How do I want the reader to encounter and engage with my ideas and my thinking? And that's really an incredible thing to think about. And you have that power as the writer. And we don't think about that when we're writing. We don't think about, oh, I want the reader to encounter this idea first, or I want the reader to read through my reasons before I lay out my thesis, right? We don't necessarily think about our reasoning behind the writing. And that's what I'm asking you to think about this week, is your inductive and deductive approach, okay? So it sounds more complicated than it is, but the page there in the module for this week really does break it down well. All right, you don't have a writing territory this week. Why? Because I really want you to apply for the Scholarship Foundation. I absolutely want you to apply. So the time that you would have taken writing a writing territory this week, why don't you use that on looking at the application, thinking about who in LMC you could ask for a reference, and working on that. Again, you've got a couple of weeks past this week to get that in. So again, no reason why you shouldn't apply. If you feel like, I'm not worthy, I don't need the money, apply. It's a scholarship, right? It's there for you. It's there for students. So please, please apply. Okay, that's it for this week. Next week, you'll be asked to choose something that you wrote in this unit to revise. So you can already look at week 5. You can look and see what the material is there. But you're going to be asked to revise one of these drafts that you've been working on. So LMC Scholarship Foundation this week, that's the goal. If you have any questions, let me know. Last but not least, this week I am in Chicago for a conference on college composition. I'll be out of town from Tuesday through Friday, so I will not be available via office hours either in the daytime or in the evening. But if you need to reach me, of course, send me an email here in Canvas and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right, everyone, have a great week.